happy about that. The guys at New Model Advisor will be taking a break for the next few shows. I think we can all tell that Will needs it, as Citywire RIA in the USA take over the news desk for the US and Canada shows. But we've got everyone's favourite Aussie, James Fitzgerald. He'll be back later on for our New Zealand and Australia shows. But next up, we have the very fetching Chris Budd's Financial Wellbeing Thought for the Day, which is being brought to you by the Initiative of Financial Wellbeing. So Chris, what do you have for us today, mate?
Thank you, Dan. Did you say fetching or retching about this shirt?
Fetching.
So the Initiative Financial Wellbeing is a new institute we set up this year, and it is to promote the idea that money doesn't make you happy, it's what you do with it, that money is a tool. So it's to help financial planning and help financial advisors to help their clients to be happier, not just wealthier. So what is financial well-being? Well, there's two parts to it. Firstly, there are the universal truths. So the things that are true for everybody. For example, such as if you see money as the objective, if you see money as a definition of success, you are likely to be less happy than you would otherwise have been. And that's the same for everybody. And then secondly, there is what is unique to each of us, what makes us happy, and that's different for everyone. So our philosophy, if you like, of financial well-being is underpinned by know thyself. The line that we use all the time on the Financial Wellbeing podcast is that financial planning is really very simple. You just work out what you want from life and you spend your money on that. Except, of course, working out what you want from life isn't actually that easy. So that's what we think that financial planners, financial advisors should be doing, not talking to their clients about money or markets or what have you, but talking to them about what will make them happy and how to use their money to do that. And that doesn't come naturally for advisors because we are trained to find solutions. Through school and through our technical training, it's all about finding the answers to problems. And helping a client understand themselves better is almost the opposite. It's finding options for clients to think through that they might not be used to doing. So the big financial wellbeing tip today for this particular session is get some coaching skills. Talk to your clients about things other than money and practice your listening and questioning skills to help your clients to know thyself. Dan, you're on mute. Well done. That's the fifth time today somebody's done that. Well done, mate.
Oh, I'm in bits here. Anyways, so Jess, what do we have next? And you're on mute. Oh no, you're not.
I spotted it. It's okay. So next we have an interview with Amyr Rocha-Lima of Holland, Han and Wells. Hi Amyr, and welcome back.
Hello Jessica, how are you?
Yes, I'm not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. And you guys are just nailing the Portuguese pronunciation of people's names so far. I'm just super impressed. Nobody asked me for any tips. This is awesome.
I've been practicing all morning.
They're easier than Welsh names, those. Come on. They are easier than Welsh names.
I agree. So, you were on the show a few weeks ago and we heard a little bit about your journey to becoming a financial planner here in the UK. But obviously your story started, of course, in Brazil. Tell us a bit about how growing up in Brazil has influenced your approach to financial planning.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, as you said there, Jess, I grew up in Brazil. I'm born in the Midwest of Brazil, so very much sort of cattle country, not the sort of beaches that you guys see in pictures from Rio and the northeast of Brazil. So when I think about how that influenced my take on financial planning or my life as a financial planner, I think about the sort of events that happened when I was growing up in Brazil. So I grew up watching Senna, although I was quite young when Senna was still around, but still I do remember the whole vibe around my family, the community when Senna won, and he won often, as you can imagine or remember. And I also grew up with the Brazilian national team, hence I'm using the Brazilian national team shirt today, brought home 2 World Cups. And I got to live that. I got to see what that does to a country, to a community, to a people. And I think the way that influences my financial planning, Jess, is this notion of possibilities. You see, much like anywhere around the world where these stories happen, it doesn't really matter if it's in England or if it's in Brazil or if it's in Australia. When things like that happen, when you have a Senna, when you have a winning football championship team, you think about the possibility. You think about how hard these guys or this person or the girls work to be able to get there. and the life story that it took for them to be able to get to that place and then bring home that victory to their home country, right? So for me, when I sit with people, I think it's very much building on what Chris just mentioned in his well-being segment. When I sit with clients, I want to explore the possibilities, and I focus on retirement planning. So I want to get into the possibilities of this next chapter of my clients' lives. For me, that's one of the most exciting bits about financial planning. It's all around the possibilities that financial planning gives people.
Yeah, I completely agree. So you speak about financial planning internationally. How important do you think financial planning is globally, and how would you like us to develop it as a profession?
Well, I think it's hugely important. Again, I ask everybody that's listening to this show here today, just for 1 second, just think about this. How better off would your parents have been, would my parents have been, if somebody had sat down with them early in their lives when they were just starting out, maybe with a couple of 2 or 3 young children, and helped them create a pathway for their financial success, right? That hits home massively for me. And when I asked that question to my father, that hit home massively with him too. So we need to find in ourselves this fire that fuels the good we do. And all we need to do is just be a little introspective. Just think about how our family, how our community would be better off by the work we do. That's the fire that you take with you when you sit in front of other people and you talk about the service you offer that is called financial planning. And if that's happening on a global scale, as we're seeing throughout this show, all the better, all the better.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. If you could take any lessons that you've learned along the way and pass them to every financial planner, what would they be? You've already given a few little insights, I think, universally, but what would you say?
Yeah, so that's a tough one because I don't want to sound preachy here at all. You know, I have the benefit of sitting on the financial planning committee at the CISI. So I get to see a lot of the work that other CFP professionals around the country do. I get to shape some of that work that we put out as a professional body. So for me, it's all about seeing the diversity in ways of doing financial planning and delivering financial planning. So the one thing that stands out for me is this: if you lead without fire, knowing the good we do, irrespective of how you actually slice that cake, surely that leads to better outcomes if you start out with a product. Yeah. And I think really for me, that's as simple and as beautiful as it gets when it comes to financial planning.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you, Amyr. Then finally, what for you is the best part of being a financial planner?
Yeah, so for me, it's getting to do financial planning, right? And I say this because I do some public speaking. I like to write. I like to do things like this where we're adding back to the profession, especially in this case globally. But I do that as a product of being a financial planner. I love just doing financial planning and then being able to venture into these different media venues like public speaking or writer, but bringing it back into just doing the work as a financial planner. And I never want to let that go. I always want to be a financial planner that speaks, or a financial planner that writes, or a financial planner that's part of a humongously successful global commute that you guys are putting on.
Oh, that's really brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was really interesting. Thank you. So you'll see Amyr again later on in the show. But Dan, what do we have next?
Okay, I'll just take myself off mute. There we go. So next up, we've got Coaching Focus with Catherine Morgan. Catherine, what do you have for us today?
Hi, guys. Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me to share a 10-minute focus around the topic of financial coaching today. So I've been reflecting back on some of the topics that we've talked about when we were doing the daily commute over the last few months. And I'm going to be doing a lot of speaking over this week. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing a whole hour workshop on the topic of financial coaching. So if you are around, then please make sure you dial in for that one. And then I'm also back on again this evening. So this afternoon, I wanted to share a tip actually around how we can help clients to continue their financial focus when they're outside of those regulated meetings that we're having with them. Because a big part of financial coaching for me is about encouraging positive habits and behaviors. And I think that's a really great part of what we do, is helping clients to almost hold them accountable, actually. So not just when they're in those meetings with us and having those financial conversations, which can sometimes be quite uncomfortable for a lot of people. A lot of people find the conversation around money very uncomfortable because of the meaning that we attach to money. And it's the meaning that we attach to money. If we can get underneath that meaning with our clients, linking into what Chris and Amyr were talking about, that's when we can create a lot of transformation for clients. We can get that real connection. So with that in mind, we can help clients to think about how they can start thinking about how do they feel about money. You know, how they feel about money is often how they think. And what Amyr was sharing there in his story, for example, was that actually a lot of the cultural influences that we grow up around can have a massive impact on how we feel about money. And of course, that then infers how we behave around money. So some of those things can be very positive, but also some of those experiences can be kind of self-sabotaging. And often we see that with clients, don't we, where we give them advice on, you know, go and gift some money out of your estate, or go and write a will, or invest some more money in the stock market. We give them tangible advice, but then they don't follow through. And often that's because potentially they've got some self-sabotaging behaviors and beliefs around that. So I'm going to do a deep dive into that tomorrow, but I just wanted to share with you something that I do every single week in my personal life that I then encourage my clients to do. And this is to have a regular money date. So whether you do this once a week, once a month, once a quarter, even just a couple of times a year, it's a really nice way to be able to help your clients to keep those positive, healthy conversations around money continuing when you're outside of that meeting. So I've actually put a download together for you as well that you can grab to get these questions on a download, and then you can perhaps, you know, amend those. You could put your logo on it and, you know, share that with your clients. But this is something that I do every single Sunday. So the first thing to actually ask your clients about is, when would be a good time for them to be thinking and making decisions about money? So if they do find particular conversations stressful, then what would be a good time of the week when they're at their least stressed? So a Monday morning is perhaps not the best time of the day to open up their financial spreadsheet or their forecast statements, for example. But a Sunday morning, you know, when they've got a cup of tea, they could be in their pajamas, you know, just in a nice relaxed environment. So actually talking to clients about when would be a good time for them to be having these conversations can be really helpful. And then getting them to think about, okay, so what kind of questions could they maybe have a conversation about with their partner? Or what kind of questions could they ask of themselves to keep this flow of money kind of prominent? So the kind of questions that I would ask of myself that you could use with your clients would be these. And I've got about 7 or 8 to share with you, but I've got 12 on a download document that you can grab at the end as well. So the first one is, money makes me happy when I am ... So money makes me happy when I am what? That could be doing when I'm doing something, when I'm feeling something, when I'm at a certain place in a certain location. But money makes me happy when I am what? And it's the feeling you're listening out for there. So if your client is willing to share their answers, if they say something like, well, money makes me happy when I'm in control, or I'm feeling confident, or I feel like I'm making progress, then you can use some coaching questions to dig a little bit deeper with them. So what's important about that to you? What would happen if you achieved that? What would it mean for you? What would become possible? So those kind of what's and how's questions are really good to take that sort of conversation a little bit deeper without necessarily using the why question, because why can be a little bit judgmental. So that's the first question. The second question I've got here for you is, if I do this one thing, I will feel better about my relationship with money. If I do this one thing, I will feel better about my relationship with money. Question number 3, what has stressed me out about money recently? What stressed me out about money recently? Question 4 is, what spending is up for negotiation this month? I love this one. This is a great exercise to do with clients. Get them to do every month, like a reflection on their spending habits, and get them to pick up one great habit and one that they want to work on and improve. And like for me, it's been my food shop. I think I need to socially distance myself from my fridge at the moment. But that would be something that would be a spending habit that's up for negotiation this month. I'll just give you a couple more. I'm just conscious of the time, and then I'll give you this download link at the end. So the question number question number 5 then, what do I want to devote more energy to this month? Because we all know that if we had, if time wasn't an issue, we would spend time doing everything we wanted to do, but we have to prioritize. So what is it the client wants to devote more energy to that month? Is it making a will? Is it gifting some money from their estate? Is it revisiting their investment portfolio? Is it learning something to help them progress towards a certain goal that's perhaps mapped out into their plan? So what do they want to devote more energy to? Question 6, I want to get really good at this month. Question 7, I've been avoiding this for too long. What have they been avoiding, perhaps, that you could help them with? And then the final question I'll just share is, I have overspent on what this month, and I'm going to redirect it to where. So that for me would be, I'm spending too much on food this month, I'm going to redirect it to a extra holiday that I want to have next year, for example. So think about what's going to motivate them to continue those money conversations throughout the meeting. I'll just pop a link in the notes here that you can grab a whole list of 12 questions if you'd like, using that link. And I'll be talking later on again this evening actually about how we can progress this conversation about helping to think about a client's emotional relationship with money. Okay, thanks very much, Dan.
I keep on putting myself on mute as you get into it. So, yeah, thank you very much for that, Catherine. That was awesome. Just so you know, you've put it into the Zoom chat. So this is being streamed live on YouTube. So what I will do is I'll just copy that and put it into the YouTube live link for everyone.
Perfect,
that was awesome.
thank you.
Thanks very much for that. Okay, next up, I've got some bad news for anyone who's tired of seeing Amyr Rocha-Lima this morning, because he's on again in his Brazilian shirt with 5 stars on it. Anyways, no, I'm only joking. Amyr is going to chat with Novaes, who is the founder and CEO of Life FP. Now, I hope I've got the pronunciation right. And he's also previously spoken at Back to Why as well. So, Amyr, take us away, mate.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Bem-vindo, André. Como vai?
I'm doing good, Amyr. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Good to see you again. Good to see you again, man. So look, thank you very much for being part of the show, Andre. You are a strong advocate of life-centered financial planning or financial life planning. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey that took you to become a financial life planner or a life-centered financial planner?
Yeah, sure. Well, so the whole thing started when I was 16. I went to the United States to play basketball. High school basketball, not college basketball. My only goal was to one day go to the NBA, but that didn't work out. So I ended up becoming a financial planner. That's the short version of the story. But the thing is, while in the United States, my host dad, he was a financial planner. And what got my attention was the fact that every night at dinner, we would talk about families that he met, experiences that he had, marriages that he was able to recover, relationships between dads and kids that he was able to strengthen. And that got my attention. That's a very different experience I had from my dad in Brazil that used to work with fertilizers. So he would travel pretty much from Monday to Friday or to Saturday. And then when he was home, he would not talk about his work. He just wanted to enjoy family, take some time off, and etc. So somehow I saw an opportunity to blend work and family in a very positive way, to bring home positive experiences coming from the work that we do. And that got my attention. And then, of course, I went to college. Then I just started, as pretty much everyone else does, not knowing what to do after meeting number 1. Right? we pretty much figured out what do I do on meeting number one? What do I do meeting number two? At least here in Brazil, when I started, I had no one to look at. There was no one ahead of me. There was no one behind me. There was pretty much no one side by side. So we had to figure that out all by ourselves. And it's been 13 years now. And what led me to life-centered planning is, I think that the most sincere answer would be, I want to have a life based on things that I can actually, number one, add value and control. I cannot control money, I cannot control markets, and therefore, I don't see if there's a whole lot of value in there. But I can actually reshape relationships, I can save marriages, we all know that, right? We can strengthen relationships between dads, moms, and kids. We can help a community grow better. And if we do that by seeing money as the means to do that and not as the end, but that's not only about a good, beautiful way to say it. The whole business model needs to be built up on that. And there are severe implications on that as well.
Absolutely. And you and I have had a chance to speak about this before. For the benefit of our listeners, there's one thread that I want to pull in what you said that I think is really interesting, because you do put your money where your mouth is. You're the founder of Life Academy, which is a digital school. And I think it has over 5,000 students on its online courses. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, so what led me to create that was, before Life Academy, we had Life FP, right? Which is a planners company. And to me, a planners company is different than a planning company. So what's the difference between a planners company and a planning company? Life FP, which is the planners company, everything that we do, everything that we think about is to better position the relationship between a planner and a family. So the methodology, the piece of technology that we use, everything that we write, everything that we teach is to strengthen the relationship between two persons, a planner and a client. Now, Life Academy, it's a planning company. So it's got much more scale, if we can say, right? And then we teach people how to do their planning, not in a way that will substitute what a planner can do, but it's pretty much for most of the people a first step towards having a better relationship with money.
And so that's huge, right? Because we had a chance to speak with Letícia Camargo earlier in the show, and financial planning in Brazil, given the continental size of the country, is still in its infancy, right?
It is. It's totally. So we have a goal here at Life Academy. We want to, and it's going to take us decades. We have a long vision, right? We are not driven by short-term incentives or gains. So we have this vision of planning the lives of 1 million Brazilians.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want to help them. Hey, how to figure out their relationship with money, how to do a consistent, strong financial plan, but not with a planner. Of course, if they want to, boom, they could jump to Life FP, but there's a whole fee structure challenge that not everyone will be able to afford that. But if not, we have this whole digital platform that it's growing little by little, of course, with challenges, some struggles, but we keep on doing that.
Yeah, fantastic. And Andre, for the financial planners that are listening to the show and perhaps are interested in life-centered planning or financial life planning, do you think it's possible to scale a life-centered financial planning business with profitability and at the same time maintaining your own family life and your own mental well-being?
Well, it is possible, but it's not easy. I believe that the first question that we all need to make is, do I really want to scale? Because with scale, I mean, it's the growth of things, right? So of course, you will have more challenges, you will have more people judging you, you will have more troubles to solve, you will have more people to take care of. So you will scale your responsibility as well. And that comes first. And from my perspective, the first let's say 10, maybe 12 years of scaling, grow first is your responsibility. Then you get the positive aspect of scale. So everyone talks about scale as if it's like the golden rule. Everyone needs to scale, and I'm not sure about that. Maybe you need to, so what, why do I want to scale? What's the motivation behind it? If it's only the positive aspect, maybe the money that you can get and all that, I believe you're gonna have some trouble, right? So maybe you will, but by paying your sanity on that. But so to scale is really the question. If you really want to, if it's the question that you need to make. But if you decide to face that, I believe there are ways to do it, but the ways to do it, it's not counted by years, it's counted by decades. And the same thing that we teach our clients, we are not here to solve your situation in 1, 2, or 3 years. We are not here to solve our business situation in 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. We need to play the game of decades, not the game of years.
Yeah, long-term thinking indeed. When it comes to life-centered planning and client and the interaction that a financial planner has with a client, what for you is the most important part of that interaction between the financial planner and their client?
Well, I think the most of all, trust. And also, I believe that a life-centered planner needs to face 2 important implications if he or she decides to truly become a life-centered. Implication number 1 is you will leave some money on the table. You will leave money on the table, okay? And so it's a very straightforward question. Are you willing to leave money on the table? If not, that's fine. There is a huge market for money-oriented financial planners.
Yeah, and the equation is simple, right, Andre? You can sell more financial products to people than you can build financial plans for people in the same amount of time.
There you go. There you go. But then there's a second implication. So if leaving money on the table is not an easy choice, there's still a second one. Are you willing to invest money in the chair? Who sits in the chair? You sit in the chair. So you have to invest money in yourself. You have to develop yourself. You have to look for coaches. You have to look for different courses, international connections that can amplify your vision and the way that you think about money, people, relationships, and etc. So not only you will leave money on the table, but you also have to invest in money on the table. But by doing that, I believe, and I talked about trust. And I have something that I truly believe, it's deep down, that the more money you leave on the table, the more trust you build with the client. And to me, that's the position of a life-centered planner.
It's sitting on the same side of the table as them, right?
Totally, right?
100%.
I mean, there are spaces for everyone in the table, right? But it's just about making a choice and being accountable for the consequences of those choices. And not all of those consequences are positive, but that's maturity. So what I'm telling my team is, hey, my purpose here as, let's say, a leader is not to give you a good life. It's not to give you a good business. It's actually to give you the opportunity to choose maturity, which is knowing the implications of your consequences.
Yeah. That's brilliant, Andre. That's really, that, as I said in a recent tweet I shared with a picture of us when we got a chance to meet here in London. It's that sort of way of thinking that challenges people's MO that I love about our interactions that we get to have. So finally, in the interest of time, Andre, could you tell us about your hopes for the future of financial planning, both in Brazil and globally?
Well, I believe that what would take 10 years to happen due to the pandemic, it's going to take 10 months to happen. And I believe that we need to face the tough, big challenges in our industry. And maybe one of the most relevant one is what kind of business are we in? Are we in the business of trust, or are we in the business of money? But that deploys a whole reflection on everything that involves your business model, the way that you are compensated. I mean, my hope is, let's not do financial planning as the envelope, but the content is money, investments, assets, and etc. Let's do financial planning as the whole package, not only as the envelope, just to have an image.
That makes a lot of sense. And on that note, Andre, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. As always, it's a pleasure speaking with you. To everybody that's listening, I think that's about as much of Brasileiridade that you're going to get today. I think you're all Braziled up. So thanks everyone for the opportunity.
I loved your shirt, by the way.
Thank
That's
you.
a great shirt, man.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for giving me the opportunity to highlight a little bit of financial planning in Brazil in this fantastic global commute. Dan, I believe it's back to you. No, I believe it's you, Andy. Hello, Andy. How's it going?
It is Amyr, yes.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Really fascinating, and two really good interviews with people from the opposite end of the world. But fascinating how similar that good financial planning is in different parts of the world. Now we're going to go across to and check in on our charity challenges. I think James has just gone for a rest, and when I say rest, I mean gone for a run. So I think we'll go straight on to Alistair if he's free. Alistair, you said... Hi. My knowledge of Minecraft was about as much as Adam Carolan's was. So I learnt this morning more than I'd ever known about what you're doing. I took from the 8:30 that the idea was to build and don't die. So, are you still alive?
Yeah, we've only had one fatality so far, which is pretty good for this stage, I'd say. And when you die, you do respawn, but you lose all your stuff, so you kind of have to start again. Every time you bring me on, I'm not anywhere near our conference hall, which is great because it keeps it a secret. So we'll pretend that was all planned, but no, it's going pretty well.
Excellent. And how far are you into actually the building bit of it? And is there still time to make changes?
There is time to make changes. We've got the design now. I'd say we've got the scale. We're building it for 200 capacity. So we want it to be properly scaled out with that in mind. We want to make sure it fits the theme, has the next gen colours. So that's probably going to be the next few hours. And then if we have some spare time, we'll start with some embellishments. And I don't want to give away too much, but you can do all sorts of stuff with electricity in this game. So you can power circuits to, for example, flash lights and logos and that kind of thing. So if we do get an opportunity to do some of that, you might see some of that later as well.
And on the basis that I will be presenting on Thursday, is it possible to get my own dressing room?
Well, we are going to have a green room behind the stage, for sure. We've already planned that in. As for dressing rooms, that's a good question. Leave it with me.
And how is the rest of your team getting on? Are you all back up and running okay?
Yeah, so Clem and Milo struggled this morning. We ended up with some issues getting going, but no, we're all good now. And 3 sets of people making this happen is way better than just me.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We'll let you get back onto that, and I'll go on to Gretchen.
Thank you.
Gretchen, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Yes, still here. I managed to have a little break, so I do feel a bit better because my first 4 hours are like super intense. So what have I done? I've been doing a watercolor this time. This one's for Will because I thought it would be bee and lavender themed. So there we go. It's a card. I don't know if you can see it very well.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
But yeah, so I really like watercolor. It's it's a different type of medium to use, but I think for like plants and things like that, it's really, really, really good. And so I've enjoyed doing that. That was a nice little change. So I'll make sure I put that in the post for Will for the bee bee support. And yeah, so I'm moving on to my next thing, which is going to be, I've got these old well, no, they weren't old, but they were just very ugly candle holders that they were a sort of not this color. I spray painted them, and now I'm going to sort of decorate them, probably with flowers too. I feel like a flower theme being the summer, but yes, that's what I'm doing next. So I shall check in at the next slot, which is like not very long now because it's gone on.
It's amazing how quickly they come around. But the one question I have for you is, how did you work out, when you decided and you spoke to Adam, how did you work out 24 things to craft? Where did the ideas come from?
Yeah, so all I went for was like trying to show a multidisciplined type of thing. So hopefully it'll show lots of different things that you could do within the art and craft sphere. So I've tried to make them all different, using different skills. Some of them I'm more sort of, I guess, practice with than others. So some will take longer than others. And I saved my things that I know really, really well how to do for my 2, 3 and 4 a.m. slots. So that I, so yeah.
Well, I'm back at 4:30, so I probably will be complaining how tired I am, not forgetting how everyone else has actually stayed up and worked all that time. But thank you very much. We'll let you get back, and we'll check in with you in a bit. So there are just a small example of what our challengers do. Please get behind them and support them. They are really putting themselves out there for 2 great charities, the CF Warriors and the Stroke Association here in the UK. If anyone wants to know really what it means, if you could listen again to 8:30 at Josh, who talked about the CF Warriors, I thought it was fascinating and fantastic. Just what dedication this guy has to what he does, and some of the challenges he's undertaken makes us all sound as if we're doing very little today. But, thank you very much for that. And Jess, what do we have coming up on the next show?
So our next show is at 1:30, so not that long this time, only a 15-minute break. And here we'll be handing over to Kate Holmes and the team in the USA. Kate has lined up some amazing guests, and there will also be some more from the usual Morning Commute UK team. Our next show, Kate is joined by guest presenter Eric Robridge, and there will be chatting to Lizette Rainey Braxton, who, amongst some other achievements, is the chair of Quad A, the Association of African American Financial Advisors. Yeah, and we're all very, very much looking forward to that, and for Kate's first time presenting on the show. Andy and I'm not sure if you're on this as well, Jess, but we'll be back over the next 24 hours presenting the show. And Jess will be back at 5:30 UK time, obviously, when she starts climbing Ben Nevis on the stairs. So we'll just be sitting here nice and comfortable, but she'll be raising some money for some awesome causes. So well done for that, Jess. But we will see you all later, and bye for now. Thanks very much.